Hurrah, hurrah. Hopefully this is going out to the right channel, because that'll be embarrassing if that happened again. But hey, it's time for some ranked draft core set 2019. Select one card at a time from... Yeah, that's right, I'm just reading what's on the screen. I do that a lot. It's a terrible habit. So I've got some gems. I've got the spare brain power of Piers still here after punishing him through a Mythic Invitational, which is still going on. Sure, go watch that instead. But let's do some... Yeah, let's do some core set. I hate core set. I could do okay at other ones, but I find that core set maybe is just a little bit too I don't know if like solved is the right term, but like you have to do sensible things otherwise you get beaten up.
Yeah, I mean that really, to be honest, is more about a general drafting philosophy. The point is you should always do what is correct. And then sometimes the wacky thing will line up with what is correct. But yes, my name is Piers 8. We sometimes have Pete over to do a draft with me over on Piers 8 stream. Today I'm here on his stream to come and tell him why he is factually wrong to not like Core 19, because it's one of the most amazing draft formats, and we're gonna have a great time.
It bores the crap out of me. So alright, let's go in reverse order. Mountain, #1 pick, 100%. So Rock's Oracle. I like this runner boy. He replaces himself. He's a bit expensive, but hey. Druid of the Cowl. Everyone loves Druid of the Cowl, honestly. Like, you know, why would you not? Solid blocker, gives some mana. Act of Treason, kind of but decent with the sacrifice outlets. Macabre Waltz. It's alright. It's pretty cheap for what it does, and yeah, the effects is alright. Infernal Scarring, blah. Infectious Horror, also pretty blah at this point, and quite expensive for that effect. I guess in like a zombie deck, maybe you could get it to attack more than once.
The problem is, for this format, in order to actually build a realistic zombie tribal deck, requires multiple rares, so it just doesn't really have a home.
So the Tolarian Scholar with definitely a real person's face. That's really the only thing I've got to say about him.
I think I knew whose face that was, but I can't remember now. But yeah, it is a specific person.
We've got Revitalize.
With the fancy new art.
Oh boy, that's what you get for watching the Invitational streams and getting those codes. I can't remember what they are, but probably look on the Magic subreddit and you'll get them.
Something potion, I think.
Yeah, it's not like that. So, Swifty Boy, which is okay. Another okay. So the inverted stats, same colour. But this time with an effect. So I guess strictly, I'd say maybe better in like the enchantment deck where you can pump it up in some fashion.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
Millstone. Like, I've seen people... I've gotten the crap kicked out of me by mill decks before in draft. But...
realistically, it's not normally right to try to be the dedicated mill deck. However, it is a viable win condition for a control deck that's able to keep the opponent from winning. This is a win condition that most decks can't actually deal with if the game goes on long enough.
So that's okay. We've got Sift, which is the just generic draw, but it's pretty good. I think that's costed quite nicely. I like the Leonin Vanguard, so basically infinite life technique and also a 1/1/2/2. Definitely encourages you to spam. And we've got my boy, Psy Master Thopterist, who is incredible in his own deck. And, I mean, he's started okay. I mean, being able to make flyers out of stuff which other people don't want, like this, is kind of seems alright, but I feel like it's going to be quite hard to get a decent amount of artifacts to really make him great.
Well, there is a dedicated artifact strategy in this format, which is the blue-white deck, which is really how you have to consider Psy. If you're just playing him as a 1/4 for 3, you've almost certainly had to pick him over something better to get that. Realistically, the only time you want to play him is if you are blue-white. So yes, he's very powerful in the deck that supports him. The problem is, unlike for something like Guilds, you kind of really want to avoid picking up cards that can only go in one specific 2-color combination. Psy is kind of a bit of a trap in that realistically you need to think of him as a blue-white card, and not a splash for 1 either. So really powerful if you end up in blue-white, probably not making the cut unless you do.
So where I'm leaning here, as much as I'd like to try and take Psy and sort of force it from early on, so look at the colours. There's a pretty good white in here, or like at least passable white, because I feel like a lot of the power level in 2019 is boring. So I mean, I'm sort of oriented slightly more towards the Vanguard. I feel like Sift is probably a pretty solid choice. I guess probably Druid or the Kaladin Rocks Oracle, the ones which are most appealing for being like cards I would never be sad to see drawn under most circumstances.
Well, the Druid does drop off a lot in the late game. So as a 1/3 body in the early game, and for ramp it's really great early. In the late game, it's often just not enough off the top of your deck to impact the game anymore. And this is a game that this is a format that tends to go long very often, tends to go into top decks. Generally, the player who's able to draw the most cards is going to win. So I actually really like the Sift here. It's very powerful in a slower format that's value oriented like this. The Rocks Oracle jumps out to me as well. Honestly, this is a format where I'd sooner have a Rocks Oracle than a Druid. Most draft formats, I'd sooner have the Druid, to be honest with you, because the Rocks Oracle is very expensive and slow. But this is a format where card advantage is king.
Okay, well let's go for a Sift, just because because you're here and we're going to try and find a Piers flavored deck rather than just something which is what I would go for. Which is, I mean, in this case, I think if I was just judging for myself, I'd be very tempted to grab the Thopters because I played the Thopters deck before and really enjoyed it, just for my own purposes.
The issue is that so there's a fundamental approach to drafting here. The difference between the two. Most people, when they learn to draft, they try to draft a 10 out of 10 deck every time they sit down to draft. And sure, when you get that, you just crush people. But the problem is, if you go for the 10 out of 10 deck, if it doesn't come together, you normally end up with like a 4 out of 10 unplayable pile that can't get any wins at all. What you can do reliably, almost every single time you sit down to draft, is draft the 7 out of 10 deck. And the 7 out of 10 deck, you can play to a victory. You can outplay people with that. So like the Sift is a much safer bet. That's going to lead you into playing any deck that can play blue and be really strong. Just gives you a really high chance of having a solid deck at the end of all of this.
Okay, so in this one, we've got this Sanctuary. I do love the Marauder's Axe. I kind of feel like I kind of need to actually just do it this way around, just because I feel like I'm wasting a lot of time if
I think we need to skip over the obvious cards we're not going to play. I don't think we quite have the time to go through.
Okay, so Hungering Hydra is going to be very, very strong, gives a lot of incentive to get more mana as well, but like, I mean, I guess this is just like a win condition.
Yes.
So double cast, I feel like that's a card which I see come around really late a lot of the time.
Oh yeah.
Because it doesn't do anything by itself. Blanchwood Armor is alright if we're going into hard green. I really like the Vigilant Baloth. I think it's a very, very solid creature, though it's not obviously going to be as good as that. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, so it feels like the Hungering Hydra by a clean mile.
I mean, I'd certainly be considering the Axe and the Motivator as well. But I think any of the green cards along the top row is certainly well worth picking up. The Axe, of course, is colourless, so it can go into any deck.
True.
We've also touched on the fact that the blue deck has some synergy of artifacts, so it kind of goes with our first pick whilst also being very flexible. I don't know it would necessarily be my pick here. I think you've identified that some of the green cards actually have a higher power level. As you say, Blanchwood Armor, you need to know you're pretty much mono green, which is a thing in this format. So the safer pick is going to be the Baloth or the Hungering Hydra. In practice, the Hydra sometimes isn't as good as it looks, but the flexibility is nice. You know, it's always going to be a reasonable creature. You find often the mistake you can make with it is holding out to play it as something huge when you should have played it as an okay creature earlier on. It's solid. It is not actually the bomb that it looks like. I could see an argument for Baloth. Honestly, it might be power level on average is slightly higher, but the double green turns me off it. Sticking to a single green at this point is going to leave us a little bit more flexible, and certainly Hungering Hydra is a solid card.
Well, we're also talking about, we're so early on in the draft as well that, if we take Hungering Hydra, we can splash for it, potentially.
Exactly.
Whereas, we're not splashing for a double green thing. So let's just shove that in. Oh, that's a fun card. Immediately, the Kill Anything, which is generally going to be pretty solid. We've got the Recollect to play a Hungry Hydra again. Meteor Golem. Hey, there we go. Oh man, it's even calling into us with its ability to make us seasick. Like, again, a Kill Anything card, but colorless. So that's actually relatively appealing.
I mean, the thing with Meteor Golem is it's almost 100% to make it in any color combination, but it's almost guaranteed to get played in a blue deck that tends to go long, or a green deck that makes loads of ramp. So yes, it's colorless. It's slightly tinged blue and green though, so it could be a really good pickup for us here. Honestly, this is clearly a pick between that or the Hieromancer's Cage. The Cage is a lot cheaper, but obviously not as powerful as the Meteor Golem. I think that's what I would lean towards, the Golem here. I could be convinced that you'd rather take the Cage and just stay a bit more willing to shift into other colours.
I think, yeah, I like the Golem, especially because if we end up with something else crazy in red or black.
I mean, equally, talking about black, you've got Macabre Waltz here, for example. There's lots of ways of bringing the Golem back to get more than one go at it, which can be really powerful in the long run.
Alright, let's bang it in just because I want to have a wiggly Golem. So we've got this boy here, which is... if we had that Millstone, oh boy!
No. You play this as the only mill card in your deck, and it's your win condition. The trap is to go, I'm the mill deck, I have to play everything mill. Psychic Corrosion is an unstoppable win condition for a control deck. What you do is you play one copy of that, you play lots of draw spells, you're going to draw it really consistently, and then you're going to mill them out really fast, and then you just play a control deck around it. I actually think this could be the pick, depending on what else is in the pack for us. Psychic Corrosion is very much a real threat in this format. We can see we've got Druid of the Horns is a potential option for us, but really the Auras thing is more green-white. We're not currently looking to move into white, though it could happen. Certainly if we picked up the white removal last pack, we might be considering it. Anticipate is okay in this format. It doesn't actually give you card advantage though, it's card filtering. You'd rather have stuff like Sift as your draw spells, and there's only so many draw cards you can actually fit in your deck. Salvager of Secrets is actually really very good for a blue deck. I do prefer to wait until I know I have lots of targets for it. If you are moving into blue-green, you might have relatively few instants and sorceries, because of course you're not going to play many green instants and sorceries. So I would be looking at the Psychic Corrosion here. Be willing to get off it if your deck turns out not to be controlling, but it seems plausible that it will be, and if it is, Psychic Corrosion is just going to be absolutely unstoppable when you land it.
Yeah, Giant Spider's the only other thing I'm seeing here, which I'm generally quite happy with. But yeah, I think Psychic Corrosion makes a lot of sense.
Like, Giant Spider is good. It's not an exciting card. It's not a reason for us to solidify in green. We're actually still open here. We can move into any second colour. We do not need to be green whatsoever here. It's just following what's open to us. This pack almost makes me think we should be taking a lead on black. Doomed Dissenter is a really powerful card in this format. And then looking at the green, it's not really that exciting for us.
Well, at least Talons of Wildwood again is not it's not super reliant like the last one on playing heavily into green. But yeah, I mean at this point, yeah, I'm not excited at all to get the Sentinel. The Naturalize is nice to me pick up a lot later on, but no, like the AI definitely doesn't value it at all. I guess at this point we don't really have that much we want to put the Talons on, so yeah, I'm down for the Doomed Dissenter.
I would certainly say the green cards are all worse than Disperse in a vacuum and for this list. So for me, I think it would be the Disperse or the Doomed Dissenter. The Doomed Dissenter is the best card in this pack, though, and blue-black is a very strong combination with what we have already. It may be that that's what's open. It may be green is open, but at least here we can hedge our options a little bit.
Works for me. Right, what else we got here? So I like the Elvis Rejuvenator. That's certainly going to make it. Yeah, that's a nice card for enabling a 3-color if we go that direction. What creatures have we got? So we've got a bunch of kind of subpar creatures to choose from. I mean, having like a big crap creature like that, it's also very adorable.
I mean, something like Bog Stomper you will run when you get to a point where you realise your deck has to have a big thing to round out games, and you've just not found a good one. Because you will get these for free if you need them. It's certainly not a reason to move into a colour. I'd be looking at the Aven Windmage here. Again, probably the strongest card in the pack. Arguably Inspired Charge is, but you need to be the go-wide white-red deck specifically before you want them at all. But even Wind Mage and Ghost Form are probably the strongest cards in the deck. You're probably not going to want Ghost Form again. It's very much focused on one colour pair. You really want to be blue-red before you're playing those. Even Wind Mage, though, if you're playing blue, is just a really solid 3-drop.
Okay, let's give it a try.
Just a 2/2 flying for 3 is always a sensible place to go.
Okay, so we've actually finally found one of the few passable creatures in Centaur Corsa, and we've also got another returning visit from the Elvish Rejuvenator. It's seeming like greens getting past, some decent greens getting passed to us.
I think so. It really honestly doesn't seem like anything is clearly open here, which is a little bit of a difficult position. You could kind of go with any colour based on looking at the last few packs. So I think we're going to maybe be best off trying to settle into something and carve out some space. So I think going with the green card here makes a lot of sense. The Centaur Corsa, easy to overlook because it is just stats for mana, but it's the right stats for the right mana. There's so many 3 toughness creatures, so many 2/3s, so many 2/1s. It is often just going to be the biggest thing in play if you cast it on curve.
Yeah, sold.
The other option, of course, would have been to take the land in case you ended up being a white deck. This is a crazy pack. So we have Blood Divination, one of the best uncommons for black. Vampire Neonate, one of the best commons for black. Divination, very good. Dwindle, very good. Really ridiculously strong blue-black pack. Difficult to say where you want to go with this, to be honest with you. I would be leaning towards the Blood Divination, to be honest with you, but I am a little bit greedy when it comes to draw. But I mean, just stop and pause for a second and think of how good that is with Doomed Dissenter and even stuff like Meteor Golem.
I do feel,
and the Psychic Corrosion as well.
Well, the thing about that is just that it's just kind of like it's pushing us towards. I kind of feel like Divination almost does the same thing without committing us, or like kind of like heavily encouraging us to commit to another colour which may not pan out.
Well, I think that's fair, but you have the single best uncommon for that colour in this pack and the single best common for this colour in the pack, which suggests that black may very well be open. Given that we've not seen very clear signals for any colour combination being open until this pack, that's easily accounted for by just poor packs. But unless the AI are being completely stupid, it should be that this means if you take these, you will get more good black cards. Green is been okay as well, but again, in the last pack we were taking the good green card to try to say we're going to carve out a colour here and try and influence it so we can actually get fed something in the next pack. Here we're actually being presented with a good reason to be black. You know, Blood Divination plus Doomed Dissenter are massively more powerful than Centaur Corsa plus Hungering Hydra. In fact, Neonate and Doomed Dissenter would be, again, just a far more enticing reason to be black than green. I could see taking the blue just to hedge, but I think you end up risking never getting a second colour because you need to actually cut off a second colour so that it opens up for you in the later packs. I would be going for the best card in the pack, given that it's a colour you've got your eye on already.
Okay, we'll give it a try. We'll see how it goes. So let's see. So, hey, we got the Millstone back again.
And again, best card in this pack is black, and the card waltz is very strong. We talked about it earlier. That combination with Meteor Golem is amazing. Also very good with Doomed Dissenter.
Okay, you reckon go for that then?
Yeah, I mean, you know, Scholar is actually playable. Don't get me wrong, but it's not on the level of waltz. We really want creatures, so we might have to stop taking the powerful card over creatures eventually.
Well, we've got a creature.
Relatively low value for us given the amount of card draw that we have. You could take the Titanic Growth against the odds that we end up being green still, but the Prodigy is just entirely too low impact for the cost of the card.
Alright, I think I'm going to go for the growth. Oh, there's some more green. And some more blue. The Uncomfortable Chill certainly would help us survive, but like that's basically you get a free turn.
Yeah, Uncomfortable Chill does a lot of work. Sometimes you'll get to kill stuff with it as well. If they swing in with their 2/2 into your 2/2, you cast Uncomfortable Chill to kill their creature and draw a card. So if you work for it, you can actually get some decent effects out of it. Again, you know, stuff like Aven Windmage interacts with it positively, where you'll reduce the power of their creature and increase the power of yours. And just that draw a card is really good. Gives you really high deck velocity. Right now, your deck is shaping up such that you only need a relatively small number of powerful creatures and removal spells, because you're going to be able to consistently draw those few copies every game.
Alright, so you reckon they chill?
Yeah, I mean the Plummet and the Recollect are both decent too, but I think you're slightly more solidified in blue than green. But at this point, honestly, you could go with any combination of those three colours.
So anticipate that is so that's not a draw card per se, but it is a filter, as you said.
Yeah, you're certainly not interested in scarring. Like the thing you need right now is creatures. You don't want to play a card that would potentially cut into your creature count to augment creatures you don't have yet. So anticipate seems reasonable here. But yeah, you've got all of the support right now. What you need is the kill spells and the creatures to go with it. So we need to be really aggressively prioritising that. I don't think Palladia is going to be a practical choice for you. It's unfortunately just not colours that you're really into.
Oh man, that's pretty spicy though. I know someone's going to play it against me now.
Well, you know, you're not playing pod, so it's not going to come up.
It's going to happen.
Players, yeah.
It's going to happen. So right, okay, so this seems like actually a pretty good pack. So, oh man, God, I really want to play red now.
Oh, you know, it's just totally closed off to us.
Yeah, but Spark-Chung Dragon, jeez, that thing's crazy. So we've got some good green. The Colossal Majesty is pretty nice, and Druid of Kel.
Colossal Majesty does require that you have a ton of full power creatures. We're a very low creature deck already. We have a load of draw already. It's not really adding any, solving any issues for the deck right now.
Well, we do have the option of the Sky Scanner, so that's a creature that gets us a card and gives us something in the air to get in the way. I guess it's only barely a creature, but it is.
I mean, I'm looking at that. I'm also thinking Aviation Pioneer, to be honest with you. That's another card that overperforms in this format. It's easy to think it's too small, but it's actually 2 power and 3 toughness for 3 mana, which is totally serviceable in this format. It's not uncommon that you'll actually find a 2-for-1 with it. Especially, this is the sort of card you want to be pairing with stuff like Blood Divination. You know, you play this, you sacrifice the Pioneer to draw a bunch of cards, and then you keep poking it in the air with a 1-1, you trade it off with a 2-1 or something. Pioneer actually massively overperforms. I could see an argument for the Sky Scanner instead. Bearing in mind both of them put a 1-1 Thopter into play, it's just the Pioneer puts a 1-2 into play, the other one draws you a card. I think because you have so much culture already, you'd rather have something that just makes 2 bodies for you.
Okay, if you reckon that's the pick here. I think I'm blind.
Bad pack for you.
I think I'm blinded by just all this stuff.
But this is good for you because it's going to solidify the person to your right into red, which means that they'll be potentially passing you more cards later on.
Okay, so we've got another Doom Dissenter, so that's nice. We've got another Sky Scanner, again would be nice. Totally Lost is I kind of like that.
Totally Lost is really bad, except for a Psychic Corrosion deck. So the problem with Totally Lost is it's very slow and expensive, and sure, they are down a card because it puts it on top of their deck, but you're probably targeting the best creature in their deck, which they then get to recast and play again. The reason it's okay in a Psychic Corrosion deck, and why you'll pick them up late if you're lacking removal, is once you have the Psychic Corrosion in play, you bounce the creature at the top of their deck, and then it's milled away. They're still down a card, but they also don't get to replay it. Here, really, I'm looking at the second best black uncommon in the set, and not a very distant second at all, Gravedigger.
Okay.
Again, you know, Gravediggering back a Meteor Golem is just back-breaking, but even getting back a Doom Dissenter as a value play, getting back a Wind Mage because you need a flyer, the versatility of being able to select any creature is really powerful. And again, it's a 2-for-1. Like I said, this is a very value-oriented format. We do need to bring down the curve a little bit, get more Doom Center side stuff in the deck so you don't get overrun. But I still think there's room for a really powerful value card for this list.
Okay, let's give it a try. So, so we've got like a weenie creature, which is nice. We've got another Waltz. We've got more stuff that makes me wish I was playing red-white really hard in this whole series of packs. The Ravenous Harpy, I kind of like it. I mean, yeah, if you can sack off stuff, which we're kind of somewhat doing.
The problem is you can only sacrifice it to one thing. So yes, we are going to be looking to pick up more creatures like Doom Dissenter that want to be sacrificed. But at the moment we have very few creatures, so a creature that's only good if we have lots of creatures around it is not that enticing. What I'm looking at here is the Salvager of Secrets, which is a creature that's really strong if you have loads of instants and sorceries, which I think we do. It's worth having a look to see in your colours what stuff you can be getting back with it.
So those two, Castable Chill. Does that get back enchantments? No. So if we assume we're probably not playing the green or maybe just splashing for the Hydra, then we've got the Macabre Waltz. Probably not that. Let's get rid of that. So we've got a couple of relatively cheap things we can get back with it if it turns up early.
So far it's only really card advantage spells. Ultimately though, you're going to have to end up finding some sort of instants or sorceries that can deal with creatures as well. So you can sort of assume that you'll be rebuying those, and being able to rebuy the few that you are going to pick up is going to be valuable. Macabre Waltz and Salvager of Secrets is actually a 2-card combo in this format. The Salvager of Secrets can return the Macabre Waltz back to hand. The Salvager then dies, and the Macabre Waltz returns the Salvager plus another creature to your hand. That can be an incredibly powerful late game engine once you've stabilized to just completely take over.
Wait. So. Oh, that's right. Sorry. So yes, Macabre Waltz to get the Salvager of Secrets, and then you use the Salvager of Secrets to get back the Macabre Waltz.
Yeah.
Okay. I like that. It's good.
It's not the reason you're taking it, but it's something worth noting. So this is your pack. Again,
Ooh.
I'm telling you, black is open. It's just the packs have been bad for you. I feel like this is an obvious pick, but I'll be interested to see what your take on it is.
Well, I know we've been holding out for removal. I know that Strangling Spores is something that I've seen like turn up, like just being played in in proper decks, as being extremely strong. I don't think at the moment we don't have an enormous amount of stuff to get back with a second Gravedigger.
Well, of course, again, you've got a loop there. Gravedigger, getting back Gravedigger means that you have infinite Gravediggers.
True.
You're kind of looking for ways to get you to a position to take advantage of those sorts of abilities of your deck, rather than more things like that to do with your deck. But it is a positive interaction. The Gravedigger is great, but the Strangling Spores would be lovely, but this is Lich's Caress for sure. Yes, you see Strangling Spores a lot, but that's because people play it because they can't get enough copies of Lich's Caress. 5 mana, destroy target creature, gain 3 life is so good in a slow format like this. Just being able to take out whatever huge scary creature is dominating the board is well worth 5 mana, and the 3 life pays you back for some of the cost of having held out on that.
Oof. Okay, so we don't have a lot. Well, at least we've got a Shaky Luminous Bonds to admire.
Yeah, there's an argument for splashing that. It wouldn't be completely crazy to do. It would be lovely if you had the artifacts for Scholar of Stars. Right now, though, you want your creatures to be cheaper, ideally. I kind of think the cancel might be the pick here, honestly.
Yeah,
It's
I think I can live
just
for
a
that.
way of interacting. Your curve is relatively high. This is a perfectly fine turn 3 play. You can assume your opponent's going to cast something around turn 3. This is going to deal with a creature for you. In the late game, sitting behind a cancel is just going to completely destroy people. Especially if it's like, you've got a lead, you cancel their removal spell, you salvage the cancel back, and then there's nothing they can do at that point. So you're really, really good at taking over once you've stabilized. You've just got to get some cheap things in the deck to get to that point.
Unfortunately, none of those really fit the mark here.
I would probably be looking at a Bog Stomper in case you need one more big thing, and hoping that you don't play it. Keep in mind that you're not necessarily going to be splashing that Hydra. It may very well be with the double blue and double black in your deck. It's better to play a Bog Stomper that's probably slightly weaker, but allows you to have a more consistent mana base.
Okay, well, we've got the Neonate back again.
Yep, perfect card for you. Cheap, early way of getting onto the board. But again, it's going to extend the game with that life drain, and it's going to take over and win the game for you. Doomed Dissenter, another brilliant cheap creature for you. It's actually really starting to come together now. This is an interesting one. You could take the Submerged Boneyard to increase your consistency. You could go for the Child of Night so it can trade off. Or you can go for the Wall of Mist so that you can just block much, much bigger creatures.
I kind of feel like, well, so the argument for Wall of Mist is that we've got the Psychic Corrosion to win us eventually.
Yeah, so you're kind of playing with the expectation that if you can make the game go long, you're going to eventually come out on top.
Yeah, especially with the Meteor Golem as well, and the multiple recursion methods for that. So, I mean, well, the advantage I suppose for Child Knight is that it can keep the board clear and also keep us going for a couple more, or a turn more maybe. if we get lucky by just blocking, like, you know, probably going after whatever. I know this is one of the things where understanding the format's worth something, where you can, you know, if you understand there are a lot of, say, 3/2s, and suddenly a 2/1 seems a lot more appealing.
The Child Knight is a little bit weak in this format because there's a lot of really good 1/3s at 2 mana. Like, I mean, black is different because it wants the 2-drop we've picked up, but most of the time people are planning to have 1/3s as their 2-drop. So Child Knight is a little bit weaker. To be honest, I couldn't tell you this pick without building out the list a little bit. What I would do at this point is hit the deck view button at the top right, and then pull all the green out, and then have a look at the deck, see if there's anything in there that should be coming out, and then figure out what you most want from there.
Oh.
If you click that sideboard heading, it will actually stay open, makes it a little bit easier to do.
Oh, there we go. So we're looking at a decent curve.
So the one thing that jumps out straight away is with the Macabre Waltz and the Gravedigger, you are slightly incentivized to have creatures that trade rather than creatures that sit there blocking forever. Play Wall of Night, it's probably not dying, and if it does, it's not normally going to trade all the card when it does so. Whereas Child of Night, you can play it early, trade it off with one of their cheap creatures, get it back with the Waltz, get it in for a bit more life gain, trade it off with something again. Same with the Gravedigger. So that's a reason to maybe lean towards Child of Night instead of Wall of Mist. The question is though, do you have to take a 2-drop here? Probably, but have a little think about it. If not, you could take the Boneyard and be playing 24 of your picks in your final deck and increasing your power a little bit. I mean, my gut feeling is that the most likely thing to go wrong with this deck is lack of cheap early interaction and then lack of creatures. So I think I would be taking the Wall of Mist or the Child of Night. I like Wall of Mist more than Child of Night in this format generally. I think for this deck I'd rather have the Child.
You reckon?
Yeah, I think you're more interested in stuff that's going to trade off and give you value later. Well, there's a Doom Dissenter number 3. Doom Dissenter, one of the all-stars of this format, one of the reasons to be black in this set. So picking up 3 of those, again, really strong signal that black is open. These have just been weird packs.
So you've got a chance for a second Child of Night, though. I kind of feel like maybe the Macabre Waltz can afford to sneak in on 2 of them.
I mean, the Macabre Waltz is so much better than Child of Night. The problem is, you know, you have so many things that give you a similar effect already. Again, though, you know, maybe rebuying Salvages of Secrets, rebuying Gravediggers, rebuying Meteor Golems, rebuying Aviation Pioneers, rebuying Doom Dissenters, like all of these creatures really pay you off for casting them over and over again. This could be a 2 Macabre Waltz deck. But I just don't see you throwing out stuff like Sift and Blood Divination from this list. So you just might be getting too flooded on that type of effect. I'd be surprised if you're ultimately going to play 2 Child of Night. But I think you would rather have another good cheap creature than another Macabre Waltz. I think the right choice here is take the Child of Night and hope you can upgrade it into something much better later on.
Well, there we go. Vanilla Zombie. That's what I was really looking for.
It could be better. Honestly, the 2 toughness is not nothing for this format. I don't think Infernal Scarring is going to be a good choice for you here, unfortunately. You're just not creature focused enough.
If that was an instant, I would be alright with that.
It is. I can't remember the name of it, but there is an instant that has the exact same effect in the set.
Yeah.
The chill might be the pick here, I think.
Yeah, no, I think the chill seems like it's going to get a lot more mileage. Alright, well, we can have a card that doesn't do anything, or a card that doesn't do anything, or a card that literally isn't anything.
I mean, you take the Sovereign's Bite just to cut black a little bit, but it's very minor, especially against the AI. Technically, the correct play is to take Mountain there. Alright. So our big rare is not on colour for us, but we get a really solid 2-drop.
Yeah, this thing is... I've played against people with this, and under the circumstances where I don't have a targeting spell, I just hate life.
Yeah. Really important not to try to enchant this creature.
I think we might have even been playing together when we enchanted it multiple times.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. But yeah, I mean, this comes in, Child of Night comes out. I don't think there's anything else in this pack that's anywhere near that power level for you.
Yeah, I mean, I really like this one, but obviously we're not going to play it.
Just not going to touch on that. But yeah, like the Departed Deckhand is an early game play that keeps you in the action and also wins you the game in the late game. This is a decent one. There's a couple of good picks for you. I think because you've got enough 2-drops, you can ignore the Omen Speaker, and then you can just be looking at something more powerful. Either the 6-drop is actually an amazing finisher, much better than Bog Stomper, or the Skeleton Archer. I think with all of your ways of recurring creatures and not very much in the way of mid-range creatures, I'd go for the Skeleton Archer. You'd be amazed just how many things you can pick off with its ability. And the Frilled Sea Serpents tend to wheel perhaps a little bit more than they should do.
Yeah, oh no, I know, Frilled Sea Serpent, like the AI just hates them. Like I normally see like 3 of them by the end of the draft and I'm like, geez. But yeah, no, I like the Skeleton Archer as well. Yeah, I do agree, like paying just 1 mana for a 1 damage thing seems like a really nice option, especially considering like the kind of weird interactions you can pull off with it.
Totally.
So, hey, there's the Strangling Spores.
Yeah, and then suddenly our Salvager of Secrets got upgraded again. You know, at this point it's got the Lich's Caress, it's got the Spores, it's got the Sift, it's got the Blood Divination, it's got Cancel, it's got so many targets to take over in the late game. This is starting to really come together as a very strong deck.
So we could take another Salvager of Secrets, but I do feel a bit bad about...
Oh, you absolutely need to take the second movement spell here, I think.
Yeah, I would feel kind of dumb to take a thing which I then... But I actually wanted the other thing.
Yeah. I mean, you know, the Salvager is really strong. The problem is what your deck needs right now is another Soldier removal spell.
Let's just take a quick whip around.
But it may come back to you. It may come back.
I feel like Salvager definitely is vastly more likely to wield than Strangling Spores, just
Yeah,
because
if
of
you
it
want-
being double costed.
If you want the Spores, you need to take it now.
So just have a look. So that's Rupture Spire is something I think is like the very poor person's version. Okay, we're gonna have to leave it there, I think.
I
Because
think we can maybe wrap it up. We're talking about finishing at 10 past, right?
okay, right, let's quick bang for it.
Let's
Spores,
stop talking about cards we would never possibly take from the pack.
Neonate,
Maybe. Let's see what else we have.
Essence Scatter, Dwindle's very, very, very nice.
I mean, this is Essence Scatter. I could tell you why, but we can just take it and move on. And this is...
Holy crap!
That thing is a busted card. Probably the best card in its cycle. Again, our colours have been open. This is easily Neonate. Hugely powerful card for us here.
What's that?
Unfortunately not playable.
No, I remember. I think similar effects I've read about them before, and they look like they're much better than they actually are. So we've got a bounce. We've got a basically kill a spell. That's about it.
I'd lean towards the Dwindle here. It's not the best interaction for our deck, but another just straight up removal spell would be really good for you here.
So we could take another Makara. Well, it's literally the same cards as
want
before.
the Waltz over the Child. I don't think either one's making the cut. There's a Child and Right you can add and not play. Here's the Frilled Sea Serpent back. Certainly the only one of these that you're going to play. If you play it at all, you probably don't now that you've got the Psychic Symbiont. This is arguably a choice between Field Creeper and Anticipate, but I think it's easily Anticipate. And then easily Field Creeper. That's the only card you can actually cast. And then you can take the Foul Orchid that gives you the option to maybe slash the Hungering Hydra. I don't think I would be here, honestly. Either one of these, whichever one you think will fill in your vault. So I think that brings you up to the end of the picks. We maybe have time for me to really quickly put together what I would propose as my build, and then you can use that when you come to do your own build later on.
Okay, so I'll tell you what. I'll leave you here to finish that and then stop the stream, because I'll come back and do the actual playing of this and hopefully make a big hash of it. But we need to get you to the station.
Yes, unfortunately, I am about to turn into a pumpkin, so Peter's going to go and get... In preparations for that, I'm going to put together what I would propose as a rough shape for this build for him to then work with later on after he has come back to continue the stream.
Okay, yeah, so I'll literally go and start the car and then come down.
So I'm really just going to quickly rough this out. It may not be perfect, but it's going to be pretty close to it. Oh,
certainly not going to be perfect with one of the neonates cut. We absolutely want to play all of those. Probably we're going to cut into these anticipates, probably all of them, to be honest with you. We just don't have room for them. Maybe one of these uncomfortable chills is pushing it too far. This is going to be sort of 99% the correct build for this deck, I would say. So hopefully we're going to see Pete take a little bit more time looking at this and figuring out exactly what he wants to build. There's probably 1 or 2 cards off from the perfect build. He's going to finish up those rounds for you, I think in around about half an hour. I'm going to tune in myself as soon as I can and see how it ends up. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the stream later.